Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Jane Veloso.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Tonight's big stories. The House Quad Committee's progress report is finally out. In it, the recommendation to file criminal charges against several people, including former President Rodrigo Duterte and his most trusted aides, Senators Bato, De La Rosa, and Bongo.
And Malacanang is delaying the signing of next year's budget pending a meticulous review. In a change of heart, the president is even looking at vetoing certain provisions.
And this one may very well be Mary Jane Veloso's Christmas wish. The drug trafficker convicted by Indonesia has verbalized her hope for clemency on the day that she was transferred to a Philippine prison.
After 13 hearings, the House Quad Committee has submitted a progress report of its investigations on POGOs, extrajudicial killings, and illegal drugs.
The committee's inquiries in aid of legislation have yielded at least 5 House bills, and among them, a proposal on classifying EJK as a heinous crime, the proposed espionage law of 2024, and the proposed fraudulent birth certificate cancellation law.
But wait, there's more. The Quad Committee has also recommended the filing of crimes against humanity charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte, Senators Bongo and Bato de la Rosa, 2 former PNP chiefs, and some others. The question now is, what happens next after the recommendations? We have News 5 correspondent, House correspondent, Maan Enriquez joining us tonight. Maan, before we go further, before anything else, what was the reaction of House media na kayong nakabantay dyan sa Kongreso? Nagulat ba kayo? Because last week, QuadComm chairman Ace Barber said it would mostly, or di naman niya sinabi, but we got the idea, at least I did, that it was mostly going to be about POGOs, at least the progress report today.
Masyado nagulat nga rito sa mga listahan nung pinakakasuhan nga ng House Quad Committee tungkol nga rito sa mga naging resulta ng kanilang pagdinig sa POGOs, extrajudicial killings, illegal na droga at Chinese syndicates. Kasi paulit-ulit na lumabas nga sa kanilang presentation during the last briefing na sinasabi nila na si President Rodrigo Duterte, former President Duterte, yung nasa gitna, yung nakikita nilang nasa gitna nga ng lahat ng ito noong nakaraang administrasyon. Lalo na kanina, pinunto nila, they stressed yung kanyang mga pronouncements nung nakaraang administrasyon na talagang nag-embolden, kumbaga, dito nga sa malalang at madugong war on drugs. Balik sa'yo, Shawn.
Maan, there is a recommendation to file criminal complaints versus PRRD, Senator Bato and Bongo, and several other policemen who are at the top of this chain. Who do they expect to file charges? Is it the DOJ? And what about the principle of complementarity? Because there is already an investigation over in the ICC. So how do they manage both investigations if the DOJ picks this up?
Yes, Gretchen, kanina nga Chairman Barber said or directed the House Secretary General to furnish a copy of the report to appropriate agencies nga to act on their recommendation. Now we have there kasi merong mga current or mga sitting officials pa, so may ombudsman dyan, the DOJ, NBI. So that's what we're going to wait pa on how they will act on this.
Apart from charges, what else were the recommendations from the QuadComm?
So we've seen kanina, aside from former President Rodrigo Duterte, Senators Bongo and Bato de la Rosa, former PNP chiefs Debold Sinas and Oscar Albayalde, retired Colonel Regina Garma, Edelberto Leonardo, and Palace Aide Muking Espinosa are also included among those individuals recommended by the QuadComm who allegedly violated crimes against humanity. Now, the committee also seeks to charge Duterte, Garma, Leonardo, Superintendent Gerardo Padilla, and SPO4 Art Narsolis as alleged co-conspirators in the killing of 3 Chinese nationals at the Davao Prison and Penal Farm back in August 2016. Charges are also recommended against those allegedly involved in the killing of PCSO Board Secretary General Wesley Barayuga. Among those implicated are Garma, Leonardo, Police Lieutenant Colonel Santi Mendoza, former PNP officer Nelson Mariano, and Jeremy Kausapin. Further investigations are also recommended into individuals individuals linked to illegal drug activities based on the testimonies of former Customs Intelligence Officer Jimmy Guban and alleged Customs fixer Mark Taguba. These individuals include Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte, Nilo Abellera Jr., Paul Gutierrez, Benny Antiporda, Jojo Bakud, Tita Nani, and Alan Capuyan. Also mentioned are Michael Yang, Alan Lim, Charlie Tan, and Sammy Oy.
Okay,
Back to you.
Marian, nakakuha na ba kayo ng reaction from the side of the Dutertes dito sa House recommendation nga ng House QuadComm?
Yes, Paulina, no, we're still trying to get the reaction, especially ni Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte regarding dito sa inirekomenda na further investigation o pagpapaimbestiga pa nga sa kanyang pagkakalink umano dito nga sa illegal na droga.
Maan, question lang, no? Right after the privileged speeches, nagsalita si Speaker, that ended around past 7 p.m. I was just wondering if you were able to ambush interview any of the Kongs who were involved, at least any of the chairmen of the QuadComm.
Yes, we're still trying to get them. Actually, kanina no, we're also live. We're reporting live sa ibang ating newscast, so we had a hard time to get their side. But yes, we've also requested na rin, press con, maybe if tonight, kung kaya abutin, or tomorrow, kaya abangan yan.
Maan, we do know that the hearings were about the interlinkage of the EJKs, POGOs, and illegal drugs. And also, this is in aid of legislation. Ano ba yung mga batas na gusto nilang ipanukala pagkatapos ng mga hearing?
Well, ilan nga doon sa na-mention kanina na panukalang batas na kanila nga na-file na, ito yung pagbabawal na nga ng mga offshore gaming operations and pagpipinalize o yung pagpaparusa nga sa mga lalabag nito. Gayon din, meron na rin sila pang mga iba pang final naman tungkol sa extrajudicial killings. No? Yung nabanggit nga ninyo rin na itong bill na to kina-classify na as heinous crime and napaparusahan din nga yung mga lalabag dito.
Maraming salamat for joining us tonight. We know you must be busy there. We'll allow you to go now and try to gather some ambush interviews. But for now, thank you so much, News 5 House Correspondent Marian Enriquez. Maraming salamat, Maan.
Taking a quick break, but up next, Malacanang postpones the signing of the 2025 national budget amid criticisms over some allocations. More on this when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're watching The Big Story here on One News.
Malacanang is holding off its approval of the 2025 national budget, and it looks like President Bongbong Marcos will be using his veto powers over certain provisions and items not in line with, quote, laws, fiscal programs, and public welfare. Julie Baiza has that story.
President Bongbong Marcos is supposed to sign the 2025 General Appropriations Act on Friday, December 20. But Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin announced the postponement of the budget's approval to allow the executive to scrutinize it. The budget, Bersamin said, needs a rigorous and exhaustive review. President Marcos himself will lead the assessment of next year's funds in consultation with the heads of major departments. Malacanang did not say how long the review will take or when the budget will be finally signed. What's certain at this point, some items will be vetoed by the chief executive. Senate Finance Subcommittee Chairperson Senator Grace Poe believes this move by the palace is a sign of a healthy democracy. She does not mind the review, citing checks and balances of the budgetary process and the President's authority to assess and approve the budget. For her part, Senator Amy Marcos thanks her brother for holding off the budget signing. However, she'd rather that PBBM does not use his veto powers.
Nanawagan na ako sa aking kapatid, ang ating mahal na Pangulong Bongbong, na kung mahina ang aking boses mag-isa, ngayon nawa ay marinig mo ang sama-samang sumamon ng taong bayan. Hindi kailangan pang umabot sa veto, kundi ibalik na lamang sa BICAM. Huwag na munang pirmahan hanggat di pa nasasaayos muli nating mga mambabatas.
Senator Coco Pimentel agrees. He said there's no hurry to have a budget by the end of the year since there have been incidents in the past when the GAA was approved on the first month of the next year. Meantime, PhilHealth is deferring to the President's decision on whether or not to restore their subsidy.
Whatever will be the result of the exhaustive review, we will respect po kung ano magiging decision of the President. Maghihintay na lamang po kami.
Meantime, the Department of Education has heard back from PBBM. Recall that the BICAM slashed DepEd's funds by at least 10 billion. According to Education Secretary Sani Angara, the Chief Executive has asked Kim and Budget Secretary Amina Pangandaman to address the budget cuts, quote, through any and all possible avenues.
Let's get some insights on developments on the political front. With us tonight is political strategist Malu Tikia. Welcome back to The Big Story.
Hi, good evening, girls. Ladies pala. Sorry.
Malu, this budget has been described by others, by pundits, as one of the worst budgets, one of the most corrupt. What would you say would be your reaction when this came out? Ano mga napansin mo?
Well, sa budget, I was so shocked because health and education is the number one mandate from the Constitution, and health is because of the Universal Health Care Law. It covers all Filipinos. So to put zero on the subsidy, I don't think that can even be vetoed. Tama yung reporter nyo, they should go back to the BICAM and settle those issues because if the allocation is zero, there is nothing to veto. So a very transactional budget. It tells you there's so many funds that are being used for purposes other than what is required by law. So from the NEP, it would show that on the second year, last year the NEP was set aside and there's a huge unprogrammed fund. Today, it's the same, but it's worse because of what they did with PhilHealth and DepEd as well as DPWH.
Malu, a lot of pundits are also saying this is a, kumbaga, quote-unquote, it's an insult to the president, no? Because as a chief executive, siya talaga yung may alam nung cash flow natin, kung saan ba dapat ilagay yung pera. All the reports go to his office, and kumbaga parang naetsapuera yung spending plan na pinropose ni President Marcos. Another shocking thing for me was his reaction, which was not so mad. What did you make of that?
Yes, Shawn, I agree with you. I mean, if you're as the chief executive officer, whenever financial statements are being made and submitted to you, you always look at the sources of fund, the revenues. Is there a shortfall? We have a 15 trillion debt. And the revenues are really very short. That's why they keep saying on the fiscal space that is needed. But here you see that there is a lot of leeway given to Congress, even to increase the. I don't know for what they increase the budget for the House and the Senate. And then there is that 340 billion insertion in DPWH. So this is not fiscal restraint, it's really greed because of the way the allocation have been made, setting aside the national expenditure program of the president and the SONA directives that were given.
And what do you make of his reaction, which was actually just yesterday and today, nakapag-react siya, sabi niya, papalitan niya. First, sinabi niya na he will do something about DepEd, but not about PhilHealth. And then today, another ambush interview, he declared that he will not be signing on December 20, that he will meticulously go through the budget line by line, which kind of gives us the idea na gagamitin niya yung veto powers niya. What do you make of the president's reaction now, just this week?
Well, I'm surprised at the reactions, no, because it's a pendulum swing from one end to the other. I take it to mean as someone who has not digested the report given to him and how far, I mean, even if you just do a variance review from the NEP to the GAB, you will see really a reprioritization made. So I don't know if he's talking to his political leaders or the political leaders are telling the president, this is what we want and this is the priorities that we want to pursue. Somewhere along the way, that was discussed during the LEDAC. And interestingly, even the macroeconomic assumptions were not taken into consideration. So, hindi ko alam kung hindi niya binabasa yung mga report niya kasi yung utterances niya, ibang-iba based dun sa documents na nakita natin.
Okay, well, Malu, part of the budget, of course, is the OVP funds. It was quite controversial also at one point. It was slashed by more than half, and now it's already at 733 million pesos. But if we also recall, may ilang senador din, di ba, who vowed to restore that budget of the OVP. What do you make of that?
Well, again, that is the impact of the political persecution done on the vice president. If you look at the extra money that is being realigned or being placed in certain agencies, in certain branches, to cut the budget of the vice president was really a political act on the part of the majority in the Senate and in the House. There was an attempt, yes, you're correct, in the Senate to bring it back to the NEP status, but again, politics reared its ugly head and decided to cut it. Still, I think the vice president made clear whatever is given her, she will try to make use of it, and this is where you will see her willingness to bite the bullet. You cut so much on my budget, but I will still try to give what I have planned for the OVP.
Let's just lay it down on the table. We know that you're a supporter of Vice President Sara Duterte. In fact, we can see you in green. Very, very clear to us. But I want to get your thoughts on ACAP. It is one of the more controversial provisions of the budget. In-insert lang yan sa BICAM. It is getting a huge amount. Tapos inuohan na rin ng Senado nung nagkaroon sila ng 5 billion na allocation dito. But we do know it is not only ACAP that is a form of dole-out, but also AIX, which started during the time of President Duterte.
Yes.
Both, as they say, promote the culture of patronage politics, of ayuda, of dole-outs, especially on a year where it is an election year. I want to know your thoughts on both, and what does this say about, this whole budget?
Well, AIX, there's actual rules and regulations on AIX. AIX came about because of COVID. It is a post-COVID safety net. Ayuda, on the other hand, is something that was created by the House of Representatives. In fact, the transcript will bear us out where the SWD were saying, we do not know anything about that. We do not know the rules and regulations about that. We will probably consult with the Speaker of the House. So this is the second year that Ayuda will show itself in the budget. And if you take a closer look at Ayuda, Gretchen, there is no specific sum that you allocate for Ayuda is supposed to be for those who were entrepreneurs who were affected, but they later on changed that into distributing Ayuda in malls, distributing 5,000 to 8,000 to 10,000. And since it is government project, COMELEC allowed its distribution. Imagine the impact of the distribution of those billions of pesos pre-campaign. So it is not a wise use of money. You could have placed it in TESDA and come up with a short program for the retraining and retooling of entrepreneurs. Certainly, the safety net is now becoming more and more buying voters. And if you introduce the changing price protocol on how much ayuda you are giving to whom and which area, it would appear to be part of the grand scheme of.
Hello, Malu? Malu, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. You kind of got cut off. But I think we understand the gist of what you were trying to tell us. But let me try to kind of divert the conversation for a bit. I'm not sure if you tuned in to the plenary session earlier where the QuadComm chairman made some privileged speeches.
Well, it's unfortunate how politics is turning out in this country. The House of Representatives has been towing the line and really attacking the Dutertes, putting together POGO, extrajudicial, as well as the drugs. I think is a huge overextension for the simple fact that in POGO, the president actually said remove the POGO. He issued the executive order to regulate it and to make sure that they conform with the law. On EJK, well, your guest is a noted lawyer on that. Cases should be filed if there are cases that are warranted to be filed. On the illegal drugs, that's a two-sided thing. There are people who are saying it's good and communities were able to be peaceful and the impact of drugs contained. And there's the other side of abuse. I guess the best way is to remove it from the political terrain and really file cases in court, because until we are in the House of Representatives, it will just be political persecution.
Well, they've already made, Malu? Sorry, they've already made recommendations just like at 6 p.m. tonight to file charges against former President Digong, against Senators Bato and Bongo, as well as former PNP chiefs Albayalde, De Bolsinas, Reina Garma, and Edelberto Leonardo et al. Kasama rin doon. Do you think gagalaw yung mga ahensya on filing these cases? And where do you think it's going to end up?
I would like to wait for DOJ and the private prosecutors who will file the cases. Hearing that from a politician who has been doing 13 hearings and really something else. They're for move and file. I mean, our courts are working. If those who felt aggrieved need redress, the court will be the right room and not the representatives or the public opinion.
Okay, I guess it's time to move on to impeachment, unless Gretchen has a
Speaking of being in the courts, so one thing that's not discussed in the courts but discussed in the chamber is impeachment. I wonder, have you spoken with the Vice President on that? And what is your fearless forecast for impeachment given the tight timelines that we have prior to the midterm elections?
Just to directly reply, no, I have not talked with the Vice President on that. I have reviewed the two impeachment complaints. One is based in news articles and the old story of Senator Trillanes, and the second is based on the hearings of Quad and the good government. I agree with you, the timing is really off. They're going on a recess now. And then they will be back mid-January to be off by first week of February. So the session days remaining there are really very few. And then there is talk that there's a third impeachment where they are trying to get one third of the signatures of members of the House, so that it will just go directly to the Senate. If you do that in the Senate, there will be 12 who will be 6 who will be running for re-election, and 6, 7 running for re-election, and 5 ending their term. So it's going to be very hard for the impeachment court to be convened if we are very near election time.
But they always say, Malu, if there is a will, there is a way. And we've
In
seen...
politics, yes.
Shortcut, pwede kumuha ng signature sa Kongreso.
Baka may... Have you
Yun
heard
nga yung
anything?
pinaplano nila, yung 1/3. So, I don't know if they got the 1/3 kasi walang ang balita ko, nagkakahirapan sa pirmahan.
In Congress.
In Congress, yeah. In the House of Reps.
So, parang according to your bubwits, no, na hindi talaga mabubuo yung 106, 103 names.
Yun yung pinagtatakan ko, no? The sudden change in tone of the president, na una sinabi niya, papalagan niya si VP. Tapos susunod sabi niya, VP Sara is unimportant and this is a waste of time. I mean, what do you think caused that sudden pendulum swing with the president's tone, I think, which confused everybody in the House of Representatives?
Okay, wait dagdagan ko lang Malu yung tanong ni Gretchen kasi gusto rin kitang itanong dun eh. It would seem, no, kanina nga nung naglabas ng Malacanang, si S. Bersamin na nagsasabi nga na mas kikilatisin muna nila line by line yung budget. Sabi ko, parang nakikinig naman sila sa taong bayan. Nung nagkakagulo yung mga taong bayan din, no, social media about impeachment, bigla rin siyang kind of parang nag-iba yung ihip nung hangin. Do you think the president actually is reactionary and does listen to the will of the people? Ironically?
Well, I know if election that he is driven. Decisions are made on surveys that are coming out showing that in his approval and trust. Listening to the people, I think it's kind of because he has never listened to the people. But he had to react because we are in a precarious state of influx.
And do you think, Malu, I think she froze again.
You're coming in a little bit choppy with your signal. Sayang, you were getting to the juicy part.
Gusto ko sana makapag-follow up dun sa bakit daw nagkakahirapan, no?
Oo, kaya
nagkakahirapan magkalap ng mga signatures.
Magandang malaman yun no? Oo.
Nakabalik na
Looks
ba?
like we should have her again. But
Okay, we'll save that for
That's
another.
kind of surprising to me because usually pag pinag-uusapan ito sa Kongreso, sinasabi nila, mabilis lang. Sa Senado, mahihirapan. But iba yung naririnig
Iba yung
natin from
lumalabas,
Malu.
no? On the ground. She back?
Sorry.
Yes, yes. Malu, there!
Oo.
Ito nga yung gusto... Sorry, what were you... Yes, carry on.
No, I was about to say that he has to listen because we are in a state of influx in terms of politics. And there is a tipping point that will be very near, either from his side or this side. So in order to manage and to prevent that tipping point from occurring, he has to really listen to the ground. People are going out and telling him there is something wrong with the budget. We do not like what is happening in PhilHealth. We do not like what is happening in Congress. There's so much politics. He has to rein in his political group for the leader to really shine and for the leader to really call the shots.
And do you think that is why nagkakahirapan, no, so to speak, yung pag-gather ng signatures for impeachment sa Kongreso because the president did say na ayaw niya, and it would seem like the congressmen are willing to follow that order since nagkakahirapan nga. Yeah.
I agree with you. When that text was released and he confirmed that the text came from him, most legislators were saying, kung wala naman palang order si presidente, bakit tayo, di ba? So, nagsabi na siya. Makikita mo yung swing is 180 from one point to another point, which are not in sync with what leadership is all about.
Wait, so
He has to
Malu,
be forthright with people.
so Malu, do you believe that the calls to impeach the vice president do not come from the president? Do you believe that?
I think that is strategic movement by the president. They are testing the waters. He probably allowed someone to, pursue the impeachment as a logical occurrence coming from the dawn presser of the vice president. But with the reaction of the people, and the Iglesia ni Cristo, about to flex its muscle, I think realpolitik and pragmatism has been introduced into the frame. That is why the president is trying to see where he can gain leverage.
At least there is that for now.
Great insight. Thank you so much for weighing in on with us on the big story tonight. We have political strategist Malu Tikia.
Okay, we have to pause for a quick break, but right after that, now that Mary Jane Veloso is home, having spent 14 years in an Indonesian jail on death row for drug charges, what's next for her here in the Philippines? We will be speaking with Edre Olalia, one of Mary Jane's private lawyers and chairperson of the National Union of People's Lawyers, or NUPL, when we return. Keep it here.
Welcome back to watching the big story here on One News.
Finally, Mary Jane Veloso is back home after almost a decade and a half on death row in Indonesia. She is now in the Women's Correctional in Mandaluyong, where she was directly brought to after arriving last night. So everyone's question now is, what's next for Mary Jane? Let's find out from one of her legal counsels, Attorney Edre Olalia. Attorney Olalia joins us now via Zoom. Good evening, Attorney. What can you tell us?
Good evening. Okay.
Yes. What can you tell us, no, yung backstory? Because dito kami sa newsroom, we just got word na willing na sila ilipat si Mary Jane. Like, it caught us all by surprise after so long, so many failed attempts, so many back and forths. How did it finally happen?
Well, siguro yung medyo fairly recent na lang, no? Because it's been a long journey since
Yes.
2010, culminating for a time in 2015 when she was given a temporary reprieve from execution by firing squad. No? About a month ago, November 13, I vividly remember there was this statement from the Indonesian ministry that they are considering a transfer of prisoner of foreign nationals convicted in Indonesia. And then a week after, the president also confirmed that negotiations or discussions are being held to that effect. No? After which, on December 6th, on a Friday, this agreement was formalized by a agreement between the Justice Department and the Ministry of Indonesia. And we were supposed to travel to Jakarta last Sunday, but at the last minute, we were advised not to proceed because Mary Jane was scheduled to travel from Jogja to Jakarta, which is a good 8 hours away by land or 1 hour by plane. So there was no use for us to proceed. And we could not rebook or reroute our plane ticket. So we decided to just stay behind and wait for her until it culminated this morning when she landed on Philippine soil after almost 15 years of being in jail on death row.
Ako, very heartwarming nga yung smiles niya and the reunion with the family. But could you give us more details about the legal status of Mary Jane Veloso? She is convicted in Indonesia, but what does the Philippine justice system do with her, knowing that she has no case here in the Philippines and that she is not convicted here? Nakausap niyo po ba yung DOJ tungkol dyan?
Yeah, nakausap naman, and then may mga public statements naman sila. No? I just came from another talk show, and then there was the official of DOJ, which validated what we know all along. For clarity, there are two separate cases, one in Indonesia and one here in the Philippines.
There is.
The one
Okay.
in Indonesia is about drug trafficking. It's a violation of Indonesian law that was committed in Indonesia, and she was convicted by an Indonesian court in 2015. That is already final. So she is, as far as Indonesia is concerned, a convict who was sentenced rather to execution by firing squad. Now, isa naman, ito yung RTC Regional Trial Court sa Nueva Ecija. Siya naman dito ang complainant. Kasi doon sa Indonesia, siya yung accused. Dito sa RTC Nueva Ecija, siya yung complainant against yung illegal recruiters niya. Ang kaso naman dito ay qualified human trafficking. Tatlo estafa at saka simple illegal recruitment. Dito naman sa RTC Nueva Ecija, siya na lang ang nalalabi na witness namin kasi siya ang complainant before the judge will ultimately decide one way or the other on whether the accused are guilty or not. So, yun ang separate. Ngayon, bakit siya nandito? Kasi nga, nagkaroon ng transfer of prisoner ang tinatawag. Ang jurisdiction doon sa drug trafficking, nasa Indonesia din. Pero inilipat ang physical custody sa atin. At ang sabi ng Indonesia, okay, tapos na kami dyan, pero ililipat namin kasi nagkasundo tayo. Kayo na bahala dyan kung ibibigyan nyo ng clemency, we will respect that. Then it's all up to you. It's your responsibility. So it is a political diplomatic arrangement, no? Even if Philippine laws will govern her as far as her status in the Philippines is concerned, but not as far as the Indonesian case is concerned.
Okay. Sorry, Pauline, I'll just insert this since it continues with this line of questioning and this line of thought. So yung walang kaso against her kumbaga dito sa Pilipinas, di ba? We're carrying out the imprisonment from Indonesia. Ang tanong ng marami, no, Attorney Olalia, kung wala naman siyang kaso dito, katulad nung nagyari dun sa mga Australiano, no, yung mga ibang members ng Valley 9 na pinakawalan na rin sa Australia, pwede ba natin gawin dito yon or meron bang something na hindi pwede sa batas natin? I understand, meron ding special instruction. Kumbaga, iba yung instruction na binigay dun sa Australiano, iba rin yung instruction na binigay sa atin for Mary Jane. But also, we've heard the BJMP say, tignan nila yung good conduct and time allowance. We've heard, of course, yung clemency nga. Which scenario is more likely to pan out for Mary Jane?
Sige, ganito. Yung sa Australia, hindi naman tayo privy doon. And that's between Indonesia and Australia. So whatever agreement they concluded, it's between them. No?
Okay.
I heard about the Bali 9. In fact, two of those Bali 9 were executed in 2015,
Correct.
which was the same time that Mary Jane would have been executed. No? So yung remaining 5 na yan napalaya. As far as the Philippines and Indonesia agreement is concerned, yun nga, very clear, no? Kahit doon sa agreement, sabi nga ng DOJ, papasa na namin ang responsibility sa inyo. Tapos na yung kaso sa amin. Kaya na kayo yan. It can range from rehabilitation, remission, or clemency. And we will respect that. Ngayon, what is down the road? How will it unfold? No? Ano yan? Kasi ang position naman namin is absolute pardon. Ang absolute pardon po is one type of clemency. Ang clemency po is the general term, generic. So it can range from amnesty, pardon, either conditional or absolute, commutation, rescission, or reprieve. Alam mo yung 2015, yung temporary reprieve, that is a form of clemency by Indonesia. Kasi di ba suspend yung execution?
Yes.
Pero dito, dahil wala tayong death penalty, syempre out of the question yon. So ano mangyayari? Dahil walang death penalty, excuse me, ang susunod na ay yung tawag na life imprisonment or reclusion perpetua. Ngayon, ang pinupush natin, ang kinaklamor natin, ano naman siya, on humanitarian grounds, sa batayang makatao, and there are abundant reasons bakit siya mabigyan ng clemency, no? or clemency, no? Ay absolute prerogative yan ng Chief Executive ng Pilipinas, yung Presidente.
Okay.
So, it will eclipse, no, so to speak, yung sentence niya sa Indonesia kasi nga naipasa na yung responsibility ng Indonesia sa Philippine Executive Branch.
Okay, per attorney, how confident are you or optimistic na mag-grant nga itong clemency? Ano? I think yung Palace actually released a statement na medyo premature pa yan as of now. And alam naman natin, hindi yan pwedeng mangyari agad-agad, lalo na exchange nga lang ng prisoners. Right now, is there a way to tell when is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Do you have any reason to believe na mas magiging sympathetic ang administrasyon ni President Marcos?
Well, there's no crystal ball, no, so to speak, when it's going to happen, no, so to speak. But we are quite confident, and this confidence is grounded on several factors, no. Well, I have not met a Filipino friend or foe who has two brains about it, no. That no, yun ang bigyan ng ano yan, ng clemency yan. If there are, then they are very rare, no. So nandun nanggagaling yung confidence kasi ang basis naman ng clemency is not legal. It's humanitarian. Single mother, mahirap, muntik na maghahasa sa Dubai, napilitan na pumunta sa Malaysia, yung pala nalalansi, naisahan siya, napagsamantalahan, muntik nang patayin by firing squad noong 2015, nakulong na almost 15 years, lumaki na yung mga bata, hindi niya nakita, yung mga bata walang magulang, mismo yung presidente tsaka foreign affairs, and you know that for a fact, characterized Mary Jane as a victim of circumstance. There are resolutions in Congress, there are campaigns online and offline. So there is this abundance of reasons that would support our confidence. And even without confidence, I think objectively, nananalig naman tayo. Kasi siyempre kaya nga siya nabigyan ng pansamantalang pagpapaliban, hindi naman because of a stroke of a pen by a single person. Kasi nawawala po sa narrative yun. It is accumulation of pressure, of campaigns, of petitions, of negotiations, di ba? Hindi naman biglang ganun na lang yan di ba? So, kaya tuloy-tuloy pa rin panawagan natin.
Attorney, one of the things that the family voiced out is concern over the illegal recruiters of Mary Jane, that they could be in the same prison. Ano po yung status? Kasi sabi ng DOJ, they will make sure na hindi sila magkasama sa isang area. Nasaan po ba yung illegal recruiters? Nasa correctional institute din po ba?
Yes, we confirmed this morning that she is staying in the maximum facility in the same compound. But there are separate buildings. She's Mary Jane staying in what they call the rehabilitation or something, diagnostic. No? It's a place of new persons deprived of liberty. We got the pledge, the word of the head of the Bucor, General Katapang, and the GOJ Undersecretary, as well as the Assistant Secretary Clavano. And even the President himself said so, that they will ensure the safety of Mary Jane Veloso. So, the fear, which is valid by the family, that she might be in harm's way, is somehow assuaged, But you know what? More on top, not more, but on top of the physical risk, di ba imagine niyo? Sa salita nga ni Mary Jane kanina, alam nyo, sinira niya yung buhay ko Nakulong ako ng 5 taon. Tapos nandito rin pala ako sa isang facility na nandyan siya. The mental anguish, psychological torment is unquantifiable. So we will take up the word of our authorities that they will do everything na hindi mangyari, that they will be in the same place at the same time.
But you will not request for transfer?
We asked Mary Jane, she's fine with staying because you know what, anytime pwede pumihit kasi meron tinatawag na 60-day period, may 5 days quarantine, 55 days to 2 months yan. In between those period, anything can happen in terms of the grant of clemency, and I hope it happens soon. It's not an option for us for now to ask for transfer. I think it is in fact the initiative of the Bucor and the DOJ for them to transfer Christina. Kasi si Christina yung convict, yung Sergio, yung recruiter. Si Mary Jane, hindi naman na-convict dito, di ba? Sa Indonesia siya na-convict. So, in that sense, hindi naman necessary at this point na mag-request na mag-transfer siya.
Alright, we're running out of time.
I guess, rest assured, Attorney Olalia, na 15 years namin na itong binabantayan, na we will not stop now. We are definitely looking forward to the developments in this case, hopefully positive. But thank you so much for joining us and explaining everything to us, Attorney Edre Olalia, Mary Jane Veloso's Legal Counsel. Maraming salamat po. And that's it.
Salamat po sa inyo.
Salamat. Okay, that's it. Naubusar tayo ng oras. That's it for the big story on this midweek hump day.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.